Chapter 14 The Wedding of Allin-a-Dale. Who gives me this maid, said Little John. Quoth Robin Hood, that do I, and he that takes her from Allin-a-Dale, full dearly he shall her buy. Although Robin Hood and his men lived mainly in the caves and huts of the secret glade in the wildest steppes of Sherwood Forest, they had many other dwelling places as well, and these were not merely in the other forests which covered so much of the north of England at that time. There were one or two knights such as Sir Richard of Lea, ardent followers of King Richard and enemies of Prince John, who were ever ready to entertain or shelter Robin or any of his followers. There was also many another home of a poorer sort, where any of the band were sure of welcome and protection, and certain that no treachery would find them. For though a price was set on every one of their heads, even the poorest serf would have died rather than betray them. Many of these secret friends had been saved from death or want by Robin and his men. One, the minstrel, Allin-a-Dale, owed Robin a debt of another kind. Robin saw him first one spring day as he stood in the pale green shade of a chestnut tree waiting to shoot one of the dappled deer. There came a sound of a merry singing, and a brave young man came tripping along a forest path, as fine a sight as could be seen. He was clothed in scarlet red, scarlet both fine and gay, and as he strode along, springing a little with each step, he sang as sweetly as a bird. Lent is come with love to town, with blossom and with birds around, that all bliss bringeth. Daisies grow in every dale, sweet notes of the nightingale, and each bird singeth. And ever and anon he paused to strike a trilling melody from the little harp which hung from his shoulder. Next day Robin saw him again, but different quite from what he had been. Now he came drooping through the woods, his feet dragging, his head bent. Gone was the fine array of scarlet red, and instead of the merry song he twanged a doleful dirge upon his harp, and sang of lost love and hope cast away. At a sign from Robin, Little John and Much stepped out into the open and barred the young man's way, but he drew his sword quickly and stood in a posture of defense. Stand off, he cried. What is your will with me? You must come before our master at once, said Much. He awaits you in the wood yonder. And who is your master? Asked Allin-a-Dale. Robin Hood. Why, then I'll come. He is a good man, and means no harm to a poor minstrel. When he was brought to him, Robin asked courteously, Fair sir, have you any money to spare for my merry men and me? I have no money at all, was the answer, except for 5 shillings and a ring. These I have hoarded 7 long years to have at my wedding. Yesterday I should have married the fairest maid in all the world, but she was taken away from me, and they are forcing her to marry a rich old knight. Therefore my heart is broken. What is your name? Asked Robin. Allin-a-Dale, was the answer. A poor minstrel, though I can sing and play, and shoot too if needs be, and wield a sword as well as any man. And what will you give me, asked Robin, if I deliver your true love from the old knight and return her safely to you? Alas, said Allin, I have no money, but I will swear upon the Bible to be your true and faithful servant. How many miles is it to where your true love is? Asked Robin. See that you tell me exactly. By my faith, said Allin eagerly, it is not more than 5 miles. Then, after speaking a word or two with Little John, Robin borrowed Allin's harp, wrapped his cloak about him, and set out as fast as he could walk until he came to the church where the wedding was to be. When he got there, he found everyone waiting for the bride and bridegroom, and the Bishop of Peterborough, who was to perform the ceremony, asked him who he was and why he came pushing his way into the church. I am the best harper in the north country, answered Robin boldly, and I am sure that no wedding is complete without music. If that is so, you are right welcome, said the bishop. Come, play to us until bride and groom arrive. So Robin played a number of simple, merry country tunes, and every one was contented, until the bride arrived. She was both young and lovely, but as pale as death, and her eyes red with weeping. After her came the old knight who was to be her husband, an evil-looking old man who shuffled along, his chin wagging with palsy, his eyes leering at the pretty young girl who was being sold to him, for the marriage was nothing else. Now Robin ought to have ceased from his harping when the bridegroom came, but instead of that he played louder and louder. Silence now, silence, Master Harper, cried the bishop angrily. Not so, answered Robin calmly, for I see no bridegroom yet for this lovely lass who shines like glittering gold with her youth and beauty. This old man is, I suppose, her grandfather, come to give her in marriage to the man of her choice. Impudent fellow, spluttered the bishop. This is my brother, and he is to marry the girl. Is he her own choice? Asked Robin, turning to the bride, and sadly she murmured, No. It is not for her to choose, shouted the bishop. Her parents are dead, and I, as her legal guardian, say that she shall marry my brother. She had some silly girlish fancy for a penniless minstrel called Allin-a-Dale, but I sent him to the right about yesterday, and he will not return. A knight's daughter with house and lands in her own right is not for such as he. Aha! Cried Robin. So that's it. There's money behind it, and a Judas masquerading as a bishop. With that, he set his horn to his lips. It blew a long, shrill call, and the echoes had not died away before a band of more than 24 archers came pouring into the church, and at their head was Allin-a-Dale, and it was he who reached Robin first and placed a bow at his hands. And now, said Robin sternly, let the marriage proceed, but with the lawful bridegroom, lawful according to the law of God. Here am I, said Allin-a-Dale. Good, replied Robin. You come a bachelor, but you shall leave this church a married man. It shall not be, stormed the bishop. It can be no lawful marriage. The banns must be called 3 times. That is the law of England. Little John, commanded Robin, find you a gown and a surplice. Go up into the pulpit and call the banns. Little John helped himself to a gown from a minor priest, a surplice from the bishop himself, and ascended the steps with solemn mien, while Robin murmured, By my faith, this cloth makes a different man of him. But Little John was not turned suddenly into a priest, and he made everyone in the church laugh by calling the banns 7 times lest, as he explained, 3 times should not be enough. Neither the bishop nor the old knight dared forbid the banns, for Robin set an arrow in his bowstring and glanced at them threateningly. Who giveth this maid to be married? Asked Little John. That do I, cried Robin, and he who tries to take her from Allin-a-Dale must beware of Robin Hood, and anyone who tries to defraud her of land or money needs to beware of me also. After this, Little John came down from the pulpit and returned his robe to the bishop. Now then, my lord bishop, said Robin sternly, we wait for you to perform the ceremony according to the full rites of Holy Church. I will not do it, growled the bishop. No, said Robin slowly. Then we will fetch our own priest, Friar Tuck, from the forest, but you, my lord bishop, may expect a visit from several hundred of my men, who will collect a clerk's fee from you to the extent of all you possess. After that, the bishop married Allin-a-Dale to the bride, who looked like a queen, her eyes shining with happiness, and in the course of time, she and Allin-a-Dale were able to secure her father's house and lands on the borders of Sherwood Forest, and lived there untroubled in their peace and happiness. Moreover, so long as he lived, Robin Hood was the most welcome guest who ever came there, and many were the songs and ballads that Allin made about the doings of him and his merry men.